Are you playing on the new EU launch, or are you a brand new player in general? Well, this is mistakes that players make for the EU launch. This can also be titled mistakes new players make, so pay attention. This is important. The very first thing that new players and EU launch enthusiasts do wrong is they use the static refining stations in the noob zones. Now, right here, this is step cross. There is a cross region in all the zones, so if you started out over here, it would be Highland Cross and so on. They all have the same refining stations. These are tier 3 refining stations, and the problem with using them is that they do not give you a bonus return. So I have 100 limestone here. I'm going to go to the stone refiner and refine 100 limestone blocks. Now, you'll see that my resource return rate is 0%. So I just want to show you, and yes, I understand that on EU, on the very first day of launch, if you paid the $200 to play 5 days early, there's not going to be a refining station in the main cities like in the first few hours. I understand that, but just hold on to your resources and wait, because some rich guild is going to buy these plots, and they're going to set down refining stations, and when you refine tier 2 materials, which is what this is, it's always free. So here's the difference. I'm going to show you the price differential. So right now I have 100 limestone. This is worth 3,541 silver. We're going to refine all of it, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to refine this at a loss. I'm going to lose money doing this. My money, well, okay, so it went up by 100, okay? So we went from 3,500 to 3,600. Now, look how much I could have earned if I just waited a few hours for a refining station to pop up in the city. And here we are inside the town now with the player-owned shops. Everything below this area in Bridgewatch is player-owned. This station is owned by Phoenix TV. But because it's a tier 2 resource, it does not cost me anything to refine. So if I refine 100 limestone blocks here, I get a return rate of 36.7%. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit refine here, and you can see that my 100 limestone becomes 100 limestone blocks, and I got 37 limestone back. So right now, we went from, 3,541 in one click to 4,923, and so I can just continue to refine here. And look, instead of getting 100 limestone blocks, simply waiting a few hours gave me 61 extra, or a 61% increase overall. So it's pretty wild how much this is. So instead, I now earned 5,816, which is a substantial amount more. If you're playing on the very first day of EU launch, you know, the 5-day head start, wait a few hours. A tier 2 station can refine tier 2 stone, and you will receive the bonus. Never, ever, ever use the static areas to refine, ever, not even once. And here is the data on the screen. Now, mistake number 2 is a simple one, and this is my most asked comment on all of my gathering videos. Everyone wants to know, should I refine my material? Should I refine my resources? And the answer is, you have to do the math. So I'm going to show you the most basic, simple way to do the math. So we refined 100 limestone blocks, and if we sell that right now by undercutting ourselves, we will earn 4,295 silver. There we go, 4,295 silver. Now, if I buy 100 limestone, which is exactly how much I refined, and I buy 100 of them, and I buy them at the current price of 40, well, I'm paying 4,100. So refining at that point only made me 100-something silver, which is kind of really not worth the time. That's like one mob drop in a noob zone, okay? But to run all the way to the bench, to refine it, run all the way back and list the sale, that's stupid, right? Whereas, let's say I had 100 limestones and I was selling them at 39, I would just be able to put that on the market, be done with it, and good to go. Now, the reason why that refining is not always the optimal or prime choice is because there are sweat lords with spreadsheets and entire discords full of economic, nerds that will sit there all day and look at all the prices with third-party add-ons and scan everything and plug it into their spreadsheets automatically. I'm not kidding. There are programs that scan the markets and then fill out spreadsheets automatically for these cheaters. and then they look at the data and they're like, oh, well, today in Limhurst, if we refine metal and transport it to Limhurst, we could make a 20% profit. And so these guys will load up massive transports and flood the market with these resources until it just isn't worth doing. Now, sometimes it's worth doing, but most of the time, and the time spent to do the math manually without these programs, is you're better off just playing the damn game and selling the resources raw. I'm not telling people to sell resources raw. I'm simply saying that you have to do the math to see if refining is actually worth doing. Mistake number 3 is paying taxes. That's right, paying taxes in Albion Online is something that a lot of lazy players do, and that's why the game gets you. So I'm going to show you an extreme example here. We have a Masterpiece Mammoth, and this is a very expensive item. But these things add up, even if they aren't expensive. This is just the example to show you. If I sell this mammoth right now, and I want to sell it at 165 million silver, which is the standard price for these things. And let's see, the last one that was bought was 160 million, whatever. You get the idea. Well, right now, I'm going to be paying 13.2 million in taxes just to set this thing up, along with 4.125 million for the setup fee. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm only going to make 151,799,000, etc., right? But there's a way to circumvent this, and yes, having premium circumvents this, but there's another way to circumvent this as well. Now, here is the same trade window, but this time with premium, and you'll notice that we're only paying a 4% tax and a 2.5% setup fee. So this time we're earning 158.399 million, or just rounded it to 0.4. So this is a difference of 6.6 million silver saved, and to circumvent this without paying for premium, you can do this in 15 minutes. And all you have to do is make a new character, either on the same account or a different account, and when you do the tutorial, you'll get 3 days of premium, and you can use those 3 days of premium, that character, to sell your items. And you may be wondering, how do you transfer items between characters? Well, it's quite simple. Once you have islands set up, either a guild island or a personal island, you can simply put things in a chest, like so, and then you can go to your access rights here, and you can just add your other character names to that chest so that you can have access on those characters. So all of these characters, like my chef and alt characters and whatnot, all have access to this chest and can put items in and pull items out. And so all you do is you make a new character, do the tutorial, 15 minutes later, you now have a character for 3 days that will sell all your goods, and you will make way more silver in the long term doing this. Now, you may be thinking that, oh, well, that's a pain in the ass to have to do every 3 days. And the thing is, those characters will have 29,999 focus, which you can then use on whatever you want. You can refine things with an extra bonus. You can craft things with an extra bonus. You can butcher animal. What most people do is they butcher. They use it to butcher animals to sell. And as long as someone isn't botting it or multi-boxing it, it will be a profit for you. Every time you make those characters, it'll be worth at least a few million. So not only are you making a few million in 15 minutes worth of time, you're also saving multiple millions over the long term, until you can either afford to buy premium on your main characters, or if you really want a penny pinch, you just do it forever. And again, it's a free money printing. Now, if you want to know exactly what to craft and how to use a focus alt in order to make massive profits, well, unfortunately, that is for members only. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below. It's $5 a month. You'll get access to private, more personal videos that will teach you how to flip on the markets to make even more silver and so on. So that stuff I'm not going to share openly, because if I did, then everyone does it and then no one would profit. Mistake number 4 is fame farming wrong. There are many different ways to skill up your armor, weapons, etc. And a lot of players do it wrong. Everyone has their own opinion on this, but the numbers don't lie. These tests do not lie. Fame per hour ratios do not lie. And this is a pretty big topic. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this. Let's get into it. The very first tip is to never use a satchel as a new player when you do not have an economy set up, and if you don't card swipe to be able to get money or silver, you should never use a satchel until you have a very strong economy, which if you're playing very smartly, you can do in your first month of playing. But until then, do not use a satchel. It will drain your silver, you will be broke, and you will only be slightly ahead on item power over other players, but you won't be able to afford re-gears or any of the good stuff, so don't do this. Money should be spent making you more money as a new player, not, gambling, going all in the black zone or something. The next biggest mistake is fame farming wrong. Many players there's so many different opinions of fame farming wrong, but the truth of the matter is the most efficient fame per hour for a new player is open world mobs, and there's people that will argue, but there's too many people also doing this and there's not enough enemies to go. No, there's not. Go further away. Go 3 zones away from town, faction flag up in a yellow zone. You will find mobs on a consistent, quick respawn basis, and you will earn a decent amount of fame per hour. Now, people are like, but which zone is the best? The black zone, the red zone, the yellow zone, etc., etc. And I have the answers for you. So in this video that I made a year ago, and it's still relevant even though it's a year old, the numbers did not change. It's called Why the Black Zone Fame Farming Sucks, Albion Online, proving the best fame farm. Here's the thumbnail. And in the video, what I did, kill 200, is I went around the entire game world and I cataloged exactly how much fame every single mob gives in every single zone. So you can see that if we fight a Huntress or a Berserker in the yellow zone, we get 1,940 fame. I also calculated the silver, faction points, might, favor, all that stuff. And in the black zone, obviously the same mob in a tier 5 black zone, because black zone is higher risk, it is higher reward, right? Well, yes, it is, but there is a but there, and I'll get to that in a bit. You can see here that the fame from the black zone version of the mob gave 1.66 times more fame. So instead of 1,940, it gave 3,234 fame, and that sounds pretty good, but there's a reason why the yellow zone is more efficient. And that is the time to kill. If you are in a tier 8 black zone, yes, one mob kill will give you more fame than a tier 5 yellow zone. Absolutely. But that tier 8 mob in the tier 8 black zone is going to be way more defensive, have way more HP. He's going to chunk your health away. They're going to be very, very difficult to fight and kill. Whereas in a yellow zone, you have no limit to the item power you can bring, and you have no consequences of bringing the best possible gear in the game to fame farm. This means you can go full 8.3, full 8.4, whatever you want, and you can literally one-shot the mobs, an entire camp of mobs, within a couple seconds. Whereas in the black zone, even if you bring a 3 million silver set, and I did this test, I actually risked a huge, massive 3 million silver fame farming set in the black zone, and I don't know about you, but risking 3 million silver to only be slightly more efficient in fame per hour is not worth a 3 million silver risk, especially if you're a new player, and especially if you don't card swipe, if you're solo, if you're not in a guild that can protect you, if you aren't, you're not in a guild with a hideout and a territory in the black zone to escape from. And I still died in the black zones using these 3 million sets just to get the numbers. And yes, when I used the 3 million silver set, I was able to fame farm maybe about 600,000 more fame an hour, which is not a lot. It really isn't a lot. It really isn't worth the risk. Whereas in the yellow zones, you can get an 8.3 set on your 3rd day of playing. You gather for 2 days. You fame farm for 1 day. You're now 100 mastery. You've now got, 10 to 15 million silver. You buy an 8.3 set, and you can fame farm with that the rest of your gaming career and earn way more fame per hour until you have a Shadow Caller set and you can start doing solo statics, which is 20 million fame per hour instead of 2.5 million fame per hour. It is like a 20 times multiplier. But that's not for new players entirely. That's for people that know what they're doing and race to be as efficient and have an economy so they can afford the auto-respec and satchel costs. But regardless, what I'm trying to get at is that in the yellow zone, you can just push a button, nuke a whole camp, move on to the next camp, and you can do this endlessly and infinitely without having to run from gankers, without having to reposition yourself and keep your eyes peeled on the corners of your screens, without having to use a very expensive clearing set. And you'll see on Reddit all the time, people will tell you, oh, just bring a 50k set out, a 4.1 set out to the black zone. You'll fame farm much faster. No, you won't. You absolutely won't. You can bring any 4.1 set out into a tier 8 black zone. You are not fame farming faster than me using an 8.3 set that one-shots entire camps using a faster mount than you that costs 10 to 20 million. You're not going to beat me in fame farming. And another reason why I tell people to do yellow zone open world mob farming when they are new is because if you don't have any risk, you don't have any losses, which also means as a new player, you save every penny you earn, and therefore you can build your economy, because in this game, you need silver to make silver. You must invest your silver into islands, guild islands, premium, better gear, different gear sets, etc., etc. And if you are sitting there gambling in the black zone, thinking that, oh, well, it's a PvP game, I gotta go into PvP zones and be a victim, I gotta go be an innocent bunny rabbit that gets shot in the head, to the predators, get eaten by the wolves. No, you're playing the game wrong. Simple as you're not playing efficiently. I care about efficiency, and I care about new players building an economy. There are so many stories of people that played this game and they played it wrong and they went onto the black zone and they died over and over and over and they went bankrupt and they just said, screw it, this game sucks, and they left and they quit. And then you have this story of players that stay in the yellow zones and they build up their economy and they, fame farm efficiently. And suddenly on their first couple of weeks, they're way ahead of their friend that has been playing for like 3 months. They're way ahead of them because they didn't incur any losses and they min-maxed their time spent to be more efficient, and suddenly they're just so far ahead that, they've left their friends behind. Next up is gathering wrong. Now, if you do not gather in Albion Online, I have to assume that you're either in an economy guild or you card swipe, because if you are a solo guildless player and you are not gathering, then you're not making good silver per hour and you're going to be broke and poor. And it is something you should absolutely do. You will regret not leveling gathering as soon as possible. So, step number 1, or mistake number 1, is not using gathering gear. I see it all the time. People out and about chopping trees and skinning animals, and you inspect their gear and they're in combat gear. Wrong. You do not need combat gear to gather. Gathering gear is a multiplier. It will level you up faster. You will get multiple more skins, hides, rocks, stones, wood, planks, whatever. You will get so much more by using gathering gear than not. You need to be using it. Also, not faction flagging. Faction flagging gives you a 15% boost. It also gives you faction points. It allows you to take opportunities where if outposts are being captured nearby, you can earn even more faction points, which will just throttle your character way ahead of people that aren't faction flagging. You should always be faction flagged when you're doing anything in the blue and yellow zones. Anything at all. There is no risk other than a small repair bill, and it also, if imagine you playing the game for 2 years, and then imagine an alternate dimension you that played the game for 2 years while being faction flagged. That person will be way ahead of the person that did not faction flag, okay? Next up is not using your learning points on one gathering tree at a time. There are people that want to spread everything out evenly, and I understand that. When I eat my food, like if I'm at a restaurant, I eat everything exactly evenly. I gotta take a bite of the burger, take a bite of some fries, take a bite of the salad, whatever, right? I'm weird like that, and I understand that, but when you're playing this game, if you're trying to spread out your learning points across all gathering professions evenly, you're going to be so freaking far behind, because once you reach tier 7, you're going to notice a massive speed boost, and once you reach tier 8 and Avalonian tools, you're going to be able to earn millions of silver per hour, and you're going to just leave the other version of you in the dust, okay? And the sooner you get to tier 8 on one major main resource, the more silver you can make, and you can just absolutely get ahead of the pack, right? Now, also, gathering the wrong resource in the wrong zone. Now, let me talk about this one for just a bit, because there are people that don't understand. In the Bridgewatch zone, the main resource is hide, but also you can get fiber and metal. Now, fiber is the secondary resource of the zone, and metal is the least likely resource of the zone. So if you were to be like, I want to be a metal miner, and you live in Bridgewatch and you're running around Bridgewatch mining metal all day, well, you're only earning 33% of your maximum potential, whereas if you went to Fort Sterling zones, that's the snowy zones here, and metal is the main resource in these zones. So what that means is that you're going to find way more metal way more often than in Bridgewatch. Now, obviously, you could transport metal to Bridgewatch, but there's already nerds that do that, and there's bots that do that, so you're not really getting ahead by doing that at all. Also, another thing, too, is not only that, but you have to factor in the refining. Like, sometimes you will want to refine when it is mathematically applicable. If you are mining metal in Bridgewatch, you have to go all the way to Thetford, which is completely across the map. It is 2 cities away if you take the safe route to be able to refine at a bonus, because Thetford is the ore refining bonus, which, is it a bonus day? I think it's a bonus day. 10% ore day. Hey, look at that. So, mining metal in Bridgewatch is the last. If you live in Bridgewatch, metal is the last thing you should max out, besides fishing, of course. And we'll talk about fishing, too. But in Bridgewatch, and this just, once you know the game, you'll know this more. Bridgewatch is where you refine stone. But you can go next door, just a few zones away, and mine plenty of stone in the, what is this, the hills biome? I forget what the biome is called. Mountainous biome, whatever. Whereas if you skin animals in the Bridgewatch zone, well, guess what? Marlock has the refining bonus. It's 1 city away. If you also in Bridgewatch, the secondary resource is fiber, and if you wanted to refine fiber, which there is plenty of around Bridgewatch, it's not as much as Thetford. Now, Thetford has more fiber than anybody, but Bridgewatch has an okay amount of fiber. It's not like the metal. Well, Limhurst is right next door, so you can harvest fiber, and you can go to Limhurst and refine it there. So, basically, if you live in Bridgewatch, you should skin, number 1. You should stone mine, number 2, or do fiber, which is number 3. Now, people will argue that stone is worthless and blah, 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 but because you live in Bridgewatch, you have the refining bonus, and if you know what you're gathering, and that's not a point that I put on this list here, is if you can gather wrong. Let's say you're a stone miner, and you're not playing EU, because on EU launch, travertine will be worth a decent amount, but right now, on West and Asia, travertine is basically worthless. If you run around a tier 4 blue zone and you only harvest the tier 4 materials, yeah, you're going to be broke. But if you run around the tier 4 blue zones and you harvest the tier 2 and the tier 3 stone, you can easily pull 1 million per hour. I've made like 10 videos on this subject. You can search my channel if you don't believe me. So what this means is that you need to look at the markets and see what resources are worth the most. Most people just assume, oh, well, if I want to be, in a safe zone and not get ganked, the yellow zone would be the best place to gather. That is wrong, and I'll tell you why. The yellow zones are picked clean. The tier 5 mobs aren't nearly as worth as much. They don't respawn as often. You're not going to get as many hides from them. And so skinning in a tier 5 yellow zone is not as profitable as skinning in a tier 4 blue zone. And I know that sounds heinous and that sounds completely wrong, but I can make way more silver per hour in a tier 4 blue zone than I can in a tier 5 yellow zone. And you could try this for yourself. Do 1-hour trials. Do 100-hour trials. Go 1 week in the blue zone. See how much you earn. Go 1 week in the yellow zone. See how much you earn. And I guarantee you, if you're skinning, you're going to earn more in the blue zone simply because of respawn rates, baby drop rates, and the fact that tier 5 mobs take an assload of time to respawn and you don't get as many hides. I make more silver farming tier 2 mobs than I do tier 5 mobs. That's just how the economy is, and on EU, the economy will even out pretty quickly within the first month. It might be a little sporadic on the first week, but after that first week is over, then, well, you can expect it to even out and be basically the same. But you should still occasionally, go to the yellow zones and farm the tier 5 mobs just to get some spec in tier 5 gathering, because why not? It does help out the whole tree. It's something for you to do. Next up on the list here was choosing a poor gathering profession. So, we kind of touched on this, but fishing. Let's talk about fishing. Fishing is the most botted of all gathering professions, and it was terrible on Asia. And also, fishing in a safe zone, not a good idea. Fishing in a safe zone mist is an okay idea, especially if you get a epic or legendary mist, making it a tier 7 zone. That is free money, but it's still barely, if not 1 million per hour, and fishing is a huge struggle. Now, some of you who are young and you have, good jointed hands, you could sit here and click all day and fish and hold the mouse button down and pay attention to the little scrolly bar. I hate that. I want to watch movies. I want to watch anime and streams while I gather. I don't want to have to sit here and manage a little fishing resource bar the whole time. And it's a real cramp on my hands after 30 minutes. I can't fish more than 30 minutes without my hands cramping up, and I have to do stretches, and I'm just like, oh, it does not give me dopamine to fish. My brain is not hard-coded to enjoy virtual fishing. So, if you can't stand gathering a certain resource for more than an hour, it's not meant for you. If you like the sound of mining metal, but you hate the sound of chopping trees, you have to do what your brain tells you that you like doing, otherwise you won't make it for the long haul. But in general, let's say your tolerance of everything, you can stand whatever, fishing is still a bad choice. Even if you go to a red zone, and fish, you still will barely make as much per hour with all of the risk involved than you would going into a tier 4 yellow or blue zone. Tier 4 blue zone and skin. The skinning is the #1 moneymaker, reason why it's the hardest to bot, and it's the most inconvenient for newer players to do. But once you are established with skinning and have high-grade gear, you can auto-attack a mob, and it will burn or be poisoned to death from your skinning jacket, to the point where it's no longer a nuisance to do. And so people are like, well, doesn't skinning take twice as long because you have to kill the mobs and then skin them? Well, no, if you just auto-attack all the mobs around you with one click, then you just click them all again to harvest them. Yeah, it's one extra click, but you're making so much more per hour than doing anything else. There's no reason not to do it. Mistake number 6 is starting the game wrong. There are so many people that start the game wrong. They try to go straight to a black zone, straight to PvP, and they just fall so far behind that they end up quitting. They end up being broke and poor and having to card swipe, etc., etc. So the first thing you should always do is always do the tutorial. If it's, I believe the game forces this now on new accounts, or new servers, rather. I don't think you can skip the tutorial anymore, but I'm not sure. But you should always do it because it's 3 days of free premium, and it only takes 15 minutes. It's super useful. Also, on Tutorial Island, you can harvest rough stone better than anywhere else in the entire game, and rough stone is absolutely worth it, especially for a brand new character that is not card swiping and buying into the game. For anyone that is, has no friends, no one to help them out, no one to give them a boost economically. And okay, I'm going to talk about this point. There was I get comments every day because these twerps, these low IQ morons, and that's right, you're a freaking moron if you went to the open beta server for EU launch and looked at the rough stone prices. No shit, the rough stone prices suck on the beta server. It's a beta server. It's wiping. No one has any reason to waste time on the beta server building houses and building infrastructure. There is no reason for it on a freaking wipeable beta server where the only point of doing the beta server was to unlock a skin, and you can't unlock the skin by farming rough stone. You had to do things that gave you challenge points. So there's zero demand for rough stone on the beta server. Do you want proof that rough stone will be worth it on day 1 of the server launch? I have proof. Here you go. This is the first day of Albion Online East Tier 4 in 3 hours. Here is the rough stone price. 90 silver, with an average price of 187, and that's because people were flooding the market. But you can see here that when the server started, look at this. Okay, so it got up almost to 340 silver, and then this is the first day, so it swoops up and then it slightly goes down, and to this day it's going to remain around 70 to 90 on average. Anytime there's a major patch or a change with islands or buildings or the trade markets or anything, this shoots up. Whenever there's a lack of new players revolving door, whenever the company stops advertising for a few months, new players stop coming in. This price raises dramatically. So almost always, rough stone will always be the best resource that you can gather as a brand new player to sell to get you ahead of everyone that skipped this and got 2 to 3 donkeys and what, that's like 7,000 silver? That's not going to help you. That's not going to do shit for you. But if you get a 999 stack of rough stone, well, let's see, 999 times, we'll say 89, we'll undercut on the video. That's 88,000 starting silver. That is huge. That's a whole 4.1 set right there, easy peasy. That'll get you your starter mount that you can retire the donkey literally on your first day of the server opening. Well, technically the third day, because it takes time for those bad boys to grow. But you get what I'm saying. Your goal is to rush to 4.1 gear, not flat 4, not 4.3, not 4.4, 4.1 gear. Because, and here's why. Going from tier 3 to 4.1 is a massive power spike in item power. By getting 4.1 gear, you're not wasting money on 4.3 gear because you only need 10 levels of mastery in order to unlock tier 5, and then you will have enough money in order to buy the 5.3 gear, which will one-shot Yellow Zone open world mobs, which we talked about earlier. Your goal is to one-shot the mobs. Also, there's a new troll in the chat named Swole Benji's wife, and it's making me laugh. That is not my girlfriend. She does not play this game. But anyway, witnessed. Anyway, once you have 5.3 gear, the only upgrade from there that will help you in Yellow Zones is 8.3 gear. This is purely to beat up other players and one-shot higher, more difficult enchanted mobs. That's it. That's the gear progression. And the reason why is for time to kill. Don't settle on 7.3. Don't get 6.2. Don't do any of that crap. You go 4.1 to 5.3 to 8.3. You can achieve that. I achieved this on the East server on the second day. On the second day, and I wasn't playing too much either. I was someone thinks it's me in the chat. It's not me. On the second day, I achieved that simply by stone mining. I proved that stone mining, even though it's not ideal for the long term, for the start of the server, works completely fine, right? And I never went to a red zone. I never went to a black zone. I never did any stupid risky bullshit. I didn't do any of that crap, okay? And so, with that said, also, as a new player, you're starting the game wrong if you are not focusing on economy. You need to get your islands up. If you plan to play this game for more than 8 months, you need to get your islands going, okay? You need to get premium going, however you can. Grind for it. The sooner the better on these new server launches, because the longer a server goes on, the more the gold price raises, and the more expensive premium becomes. So the sooner you get your economy set straight, the sooner you can have premium, and when you have premium, it's easier to maintain premium through focus crafting and a whole bunch of other stuff, and all the bonuses you're going to get, especially if you play every single day, and you'll get those 30 learning points, which will just skyrocket and, allow you to grow your gathering skills much easier and more conveniently. Also, if you are starting with a stupid weapon line, and I actually tested this theory on East server, okay? I decided to start with daggers, because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to play on the server too long, I'm just going to level up dual daggers, or dagger pair as it's called, and that'll be my weapon. Well, I was fame farming so damn slow with dagger pair. I was fame farming really slow. I wasn't beating up a lot of players, because early on without item power, you can't really do much with dagger pair without very specific gear combinations. I was getting my ass beat by all of the following on the screen here. You want to start with the Curse Staff weapon line. That's the best one. The next best would be axes. Nature Staff is good. Fire is decent. And gloves are niche, but they're still pretty good once you have them leveled up. Any of these 5 weapons will be just fine to start with, and get it to 100 mastery, get your sets going, and you're going to be way happier that you did than if you didn't. Because you're going to be able to beat up more players, kill more players, have more fun, fame farm more efficiently, and get more stuff done much faster. Finally, another new mistake that you see all the time, regardless of the EU Fresh Start, is people wearing plate armor. You can go to the noob zones, the tier 3, the tier 4 zones, and just inspect people, and they'll be wearing plate armor. Okay, here's the thing with plate chest armor, bros. If you're not aware, plate armor gives you 0% damage increase, okay? So, think of it like this. 500 item power is how much it takes to compensate for wearing plate armor. Right, if you have cloth armor and you're attacking something, you will deal the same damage as someone with 500 more item power wearing plate armor. That's huge. That is 5 tiers higher than, like, every 100 item power is 1 tier higher. So that would be like, instead of flat 4, it would be 8.1. You're dealing the same amount of damage with flat 4 as you would with an 8.1 weapon wearing plate. Do not wear plate unless you are tanking or doing group activities. Alright, now, plate helmet, plate boots, those don't apply. You can use those for the skills they have. They're not going to reduce your damage that much. But the plate chest it's very important. Don't be like, oh, I want to be tanky. You don't need to be tanky. You need to be one-shotting mobs. You need to be dismounting, killing mobs, remounting, going from camp to camp to camp as quick as possible. You don't need to sit there and trade attacks with the NPCs. That's not going to get you very far very quickly. Mistake number 7 is do not ever buy a shop stall. Don't. Unless you know exactly what you're doing, unless you are a part of the cartel's inner circle Discord, unless you have like 30 to 100 friends, all in the same guild, all in the same Discord, with spreadsheets out the wazoo, and you've done months of research and planning, do not buy a shop stall. It is a waste of money. You will be bullied out of the market. The cartel will come for you. I am not joking. This is not a meme. This is serious. And especially, like, I read stories all the time in comments and on the forums and stuff of people that bought shop stalls and they just lost multiple millions. Like, there was one guy, he was interested in the game. He's interested in the market economy. So he card swiped. He card swiped like $200 to $300 worth of silver into the game. And then he bought a shop stall, but he bought the shop stall the day before auction. So he paid 200 million silver and then another 100 million to upgrade it. And he owned the shop stall for one day, and then the auction happened, and he lost the shop stall. And he tried to get a refund from SBI, which they're not going to refund that. That's you being a dumbass, okay? And so he was out 300 real life dollars. He just quit the game immediately. He was so pissed and so sour. And that guy could have made him something of the game. That guy could have been a contributor to the economy, to the community. But he got shafted by game mechanics and cartels. I know. And then you have the guys that they're just rich and bored, so they buy a shop stall with their money, whatever. And then the cartel's like, if you don't join our Discord, if you don't follow our nerdy rules, and if you don't set your prices exactly to what we tell you, then we will come and ruin your stall. And no, they can't come physically to your shop stall in the town and blow it up. No, but they can craft at it. They can craft a whole bunch of junk items that makes your shop stall run out of food, and then you got to feed the stall, otherwise no one can use it anymore, and that's going to cost you more money than you're earning from what they're crafting on your station. And they have this stuff figured out. They have it, and it's not just one guy. It's not one salty guy that's rich. It's hundreds of salty guys that are rich, and they rely on this game as their real-life income because they take the money that they earn, they sell it, and SBI does nothing about it, or they do a little bit of stuff about it, but whatever. I guess they're trying their best, for an indie company, right? Indie Kickstarter freaking company. And just don't buy the shop stall. You will regret it if you do, unless you have all of the things in place. And even then, if you talk to the cartel, they will honestly show you their books. And you can see that a lot of the time, even they're not making money. It's more of a power and control thing than it is a money-making thing. Number 8 is do not talk smack in chat. This game is very... Okay, a lot of people... The game used to have a reputation where you could say whatever you want and say the meanest things, and people would laugh about it, like in the old days, in the old Halo 2 game lobby days, the Call of Duty lobby days where everyone had sex with each other's moms and stuff, but these days, it doesn't work. The CEO of the company is anti-freedom of speech, and you can use a preschooler insult in the chat, and you will get muted for, it really depends. It could be 30 minutes, it could be 30 days, it could be forever, okay? You can call someone like a packet of ketchup. You could call someone a hot dog. You could call someone leaves falling off of a tree. It doesn't matter. And they will mute you if they feel like it. If they just don't like you that day, if they're just having a bad day, if it's part of their menstrual cycle, and, maybe they got disrespected in public or misgendered or something, you will piss off one of the Jannies, the Game Masters, and they will mute you for a ridiculous amount of time, and it's just not worth, sowing the seeds of salt in the chat. It really isn't. You need to be aware of this game has many different factions, many different guilds, all vying for control, content creators doing something similar. You must be aware of the agendas of these people, the manipulation that they do, and the overall groupthink. So what does this mean? This means that if you go to, say, the Albion subreddit, and you ask, what is the best starter weapon? What should I invest all my points in? What should I buy? Well, guess what? If someone replies to you and they're part of a guild that crafts great axes, and this happened back in the day, If they all reply and they get their entire guild to reply and updo each other's posts, then everyone, it'll look like it. Like, as a new player, you'll read this and you'll be like, oh, all these people are saying that the Great Axe is the best weapon, that I should use the Fame Farm. It's the overall newbiest, friendliest, weapon ever, right? And so what you'll do is you'll start going to cities and buying the Great Axes and buying the exact builds they're telling you to do. And then before you know it, you've wasted a whole month leveling up the Great Axe only to find out it sucks. Because when you went to the test server and actually tried out different weapons for yourself and did your own research, you realized that the Great Axe freaking blows. And yeah, it's easy to play, but that's like it. It's not efficient in really anything that other weapons don't do better. And so now what happens is all those people that were in the same guild that told you to play Great Axe, well, they just profited it off of you. And so now you're stuck playing the Great Axe unless you want to level something else up. So you're stuck buying their Great Axes every time you die. You're stuck, making them money, basically. You have become their slave without even realizing what you did. And the same thing goes for content creators, and you should always trust but verify. Now, I make videos personally for myself. I don't make videos to mislead anyone. I don't mislead anyone, but if you ask the Redditors, oh, Soul Benji's misleading, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you ask them why or how, or ask them to show proof of how it's misleading, you're going to get a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of circle speak, straw man arguments. You're not going to get anything of the sort. And I can tell you right now that, people whose main content is like ganking mists, they will all tell you, go to the mists, go to the mist. The mist is the best place ever. The mists are the favorite place ever. Whenever you see a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer telling you to do something, look and see what is the content that they're doing. What is the content that they enjoy to do most? Like, look at their past 30 streams or videos or whatever, and see what do they spend the majority of their time doing. Well, when a content creator tells you that the best fame farm in the game is Nightfall Abbeys, and then you click on his Twitch channel, and that's all he freaking does all day, he just wants people to kill. He just wants more targets. He just wants more things to kill. The reality of the Nightfall Abbey, if you spend all of your time in the mists, and you can even watch these streamers who spend all of their time in the mists, they will come upon a mist once every 45 minutes on average, across 1,200 samples across a 3-month period. Okay? I've done my research. I've done my data collection. I am a literal researcher for video games, and I have found that on average, it takes 45 minutes to find a Nightfall Abbey. Because of that, it is not the best fame farm. It is not the most consistent fame farm. It is not the best anything. Yeah, it's fun. It's good when you find one. If you happen to find one with a fame farming set, they can also escape all the gankers. But you're basically just being trained to be someone's food if you follow these instructions blindly. And also groupthink. Groupthink is a very dangerous thing, and I've done this in many videos, and I'll go ahead and do it for this video too, but give me a sec to set this up. So groupthink, this is the most simplest way to show you, okay? Here's the groupthink, alright? In front of you are two squares. One is a green square, one is the red square. One square is bigger than the other square. Which square is the bigger square? Well, obviously, we all know that the bigger square is the green one. Alright? According to Reddit, plus 3,000 updates, this is the bigger square. All the YouTubers, I'm a YouTuber, I'm telling you that the green square is bigger. The green square is absolutely bigger than the red square. You could look at it. Look at it. We all know that the red square is the bad square. We all know it's the smaller square. So green square good. Green square very good. Red square bad. Okay? Now here's the reality Here's the reality, right? How many people believes what I'm saying? Well, if you've already seen the lesson, then you know. They're the same freaking size. And I'll prove it to you. Look, I'm going to undo how I made these. Okay, undo. Hold on. We're going to just click the screen. Undo, 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 undo. All I did was copy-paste the same square and color them differently. So that's what essentially this entire game is the red and the and the green square argument, okay? Well, this is the best way. No, this is the best way. No, this is the best way. And then the bigger group, which sounds more plausible, who has more people behind it, will say one thing, but in reality, until you do the test, the trust but verify method of testing it out for yourself, You won't know until you actually do your homework and your studying and your research yourself. And hopefully you believe me. And, that's all I can say is anything that I tell you, numbers that I show you, anything I show you on the videos, you should always trust but verify. And no one's been able to unverify anything I've ever made in a video. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. No one's come out and be like, "Nuh-uh, Swolbinji's wrong. Here's why he's wrong. Here's the proof he's wrong. Here's the video footage showing that he's wrong." No one's done it. No one's done it because they can't do it. It's that simple. And you have to trust but verify. So beware of groupthink, because if you go to Reddit, every single person there, if you can call them people, are going to say, "Oh, Black Zone better." And logically, Black Zone sounds better. You would think risk equals reward. Going into the Black Zone would make more sense because you're putting more risk and that the rewards are better. Therefore, it should be a better fame farm. It should. I'll admit, the Black Zone should be a better fame farm, but it turns out that the best fame farm in the entire game that's most consistent is going to a Blue Zone static with a certain build and just nuking down hordes of enemies meant for groups of players completely solo. That's the reality that we are in. Alright, yes, doctors and lawyers should earn more money and should be higher renowned in society than athletes and celebrities or OnlyFans girls, but at the same time, you could be an OnlyFans chick making $20 million a year, or you can be a surgeon making $300,000 a year. I mean, that's the reality that we live in. Okay? Yes, the surgeon should be paid more. The surgeon should make more money, but the reality is that they don't. Okay? That's just the world we live in. That's just the Albion Online world we live in. Mistake number 10 is not being time efficient. So, I know that much younger players don't really value their time as much as an older player would, or someone who has a real life, like a job, wife, kids, etc., etc. I'm a NEET. I don't have a job. I don't have a family. I can spend 19 hours on this game, and even I value my time and time efficiency. So I'll give you an example of time efficiency here when it comes to focus crafting or tending to islands. Let's talk about it. Here is an example, and this is an extreme example because there are people that do this, okay? So person A, and I'm person A. I like to be person A, not always, but when I'm not really feeling it, I like to be person A. Person A spends 10,000 focus per day. That's how much focus you can earn per day on watering crops. They water the crops, they plant the crops, they harvest the crops, they sell the crops, whatever. They make 500,000 per day doing this, and it takes them 2 minutes of playtime to do. Alright, person B spends 10,000 focus a day, and they min-max chef crafting, and penny pinching the markets, and flipping the markets, and transporting between the cities, and they do this for 12 hours a day, every day. They have constant spreadsheets open, notepads, programs running. They are constantly on a mammoth going from town to town to town, and yes, there are people that do this. Now, person B obviously will make more silver, obviously. So how much more? Well, let's talk about it. So person A, at the end of the month, 30-day pay period, makes 15 million silver in 1 month, and they spent 1 hour to do so. Person B makes 300 million a month, a huge amount, but they also spent 360 hours to do it. This is all they do in the game. They don't do anything else. They only play this game to flip and trade and craft and be a chef, and that's all they do all day, every day. Now, obviously, they have way more money to spend on things that if they ever wanted to do anything else, they could. But at the end of the day, person A will also make 300 million silver in 20 hours. Now, it will take them 20 months, but they only spent 20 hours to do so. Person B spent 360 hours to do so. And, so you need to be time efficient. And I'm not telling you don't be the crafter that runs around all day 12 hours a day, but at the end of the day, 300 million for 360 hours is not even 1 million silver per hour. And this plays into many different things of the game, okay? This is how I want you to think about it. Person B makes 300 million a month, which is a lot of silver for someone to make. But you could just gather and make 1 million per hour and make the same amount of silver in 300 hours, right? So why the hell are you even bothering to do all that crap anyway? Well, they do it because they enjoy doing it, and if you enjoy doing something, that's the whole point of playing the game, is to enjoy yourself, right? But a lot of people play this game and they do the hard work so that they can have fun doing something else. I don't think running around on a transport mammoth and flipping and managing spreadsheets is fun. I would rather just go dumpster people in PvP all day. That's me. That's what I would prefer to do. But, at the end of the day, you're doing economic activities so that you can fund your fun activities. But in this case, Person B's economic activity is his fun activity. I would hope, I would assume. Here is another example that involves fame farming and not so much the economy. So Person A, new player, they farm a yellow zone for 16 hours. They're out there grinding, killing mobs, just blowing up camps. They're running around, they're watching streams, they're watching YouTube, they're talking to their friends. They're eating food, in between camp pulls. And they max out their mastery. Yay! They can wear tier 8 equipment. And they made 2 million silver doing it off of mob drops and silver pickups. You would make more than this, but I'm going to lowball it here. Person B is a 0 to hero black zone, and they go into the black zone and they fame farm for 12 hours to get maximum mastery, but they died a bunch. They lost 4 million silver, not so much from the equipment they're wearing, but the loot that they were carrying around with them, from chests, from say Rhodes chests, from other players, and they died with some of that in their inventory, and overall, in that 12-hour time span, they lost 4 million silver. Person C is basically me. They fame farm a blue zone static with their 8.4 sets, 8.4 satchel, and auto respec, and they spent 30 minutes of their time, and I literally made a video just a few days ago where I did this, and that cost them 13 million silver. That's a lot of silver spent for 30 minutes of grinding. But they also made enough fame to max out their mastery. Technically more, but we'll say that they were very inefficient this time. They still spent the 13 million silver. So who is Person A the winner because they made 2 million silver? Is Person B the winner because they fame farmed faster? Or is Person C the winner because they fame farmed faster but they lost the most silver? Well, let me tell you. Let me show you the answer. And here we go. So, Person A made 120,000 silver per hour, and they spent 16 hours to do it. Person B banked 4 hours by going to the black zone, but due to their losses, they're losing 334,000 silver per hour on average. Person C banked 15 and a half hours, but they also lost 13 million silver doing so. So here's the results. If Person A cannot farm 1 million silver per hour, they win. So once you can farm 1 million silver per hour, you're kind of wasting your time doing this fame farm. If Person B can make 1 million silver per hour, they tie with Person A. They tie, all right? So that means that, yes, they save 4 hours, but at the end of the day, they still have to farm that silver back, etc., etc. And then Person C, if they can make 1 million silver per hour on, gathering or whatever, then they technically beat Person A by 500,000 silver. It's not a lot, okay? It's not a lot, but it is a victory for Person C. So while Person C spent the least amount of time grinding but the most amount of silver, they still technically come out ahead because time equals money, and because time equals money, you are more efficient to do Person C's farm with a blue zone static with the satchel and auto respec and blow that massive amount of silver than you are doing Person B's farm in the black zone or Person A's farm. Person A is a new player, okay? If they can't farm 1 million per hour, if they can farm at least 1 million silver per hour, they need to become Person C. If Person B is a new player, then they're being inefficient compared to Person A. Well, that is, unless they get lucky, okay? The black zone is all about luck and having friends and having guilds and having a bunch of people in Discord guard you while you do things, okay? Person B as a solo player will probably lose way more in 12 hours. You're going to die constantly in the black zone, bro. I don't care how good you are. I don't care, if you're in some empty zone playing, in the dead hours on reset week when guilds aren't active. It doesn't matter. Person B technically loses between the two. And number 11 is pretty simple. Doing things that you hate or that you don't find fun. If you're playing this game and you hate gathering, and you hate going into save zones, then you're not going to have any fun, and you're going to have to find your own way to, like, make a profit and succeed in this game. And maybe a different game would be better your choice. I get told this all the time. They're like, you shouldn't play Albion Online. You don't like the PvP. And it's like, it's a sandbox. I can go chop trees all day. Here's why I originally played Albion Online back in the day. I wanted to be a lumberjack. I just wanted to chop down trees, and I did that for several months. And I got a little bit bored of it, and because, well, I was mostly leveled up and maxed out. So I wanted to be a main tank. I wanted to go into group dungeons and be the tank and make a bunch of friends and just go into group dungeons and get some loot, kill some monsters, kill some bad guys, and do that. And so I tried to do that, and I tried for several months to do that, but every time I would form a group and we would go into a red or a black zone, someone that joined the group would actually just be in a Discord with their friends, and they would leave the party, and then their friends would show up and kill us all and take our stuff. And after a while, I realized, well, I hate doing this, so this is not fun, and I can't make this work. And so, ever since, I've just tried to make friends, and, well, at the end of the day, I haven't made any friends in 3 to 4 years. I don't have any, there's no guilds that I fit in with, but I still have fun with the game. I go into the yellow zones with my 8.4 set, and I just absolutely nuke the crap out of everyone that is lesser geared than me. And I find this enticing, fun, exciting, and it's something that I look forward to every single day when I log in and play the game. I go out into a yellow zone faction fight, I can solo the outposts. I'm basically a hero character in an RTS match, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I want to be in a ZVZ, I want to go into a big army and have a big fight. And me, I personally hate that feeling. I feel like an insect. I feel like a number, a cog in a machine. When there's 100 people running around, what significance do I have in the fight? And, well, I did try the guild thing. I tried it out, even though I hated it. And I was topping the kill boards, the leaderboards, the battle boards, as they call them, multiple times over. And I wasn't even an experienced Black Zone player or a ZVZer. I simply had the innate courage and ability to just go into the front lines and cast my spells and kill a bunch of people. And I didn't find it fun, so I stopped doing it. And so you have to figure out what you like and what you don't like in this game, and then do those things, and you will be much happier than slaving around all day. Do you think that the players that have streams where they just refine crap all day on 50 alt accounts and run mammoth giveaways that they just give to themselves, and the players that just go into the mists every single stream for thousands of streams for years and years and years, do you think they're having fun? They're mostly doing it to get paid, right? I don't get paid enough money to play this game, really. To be honest, 120,000 views for Albion vids, it makes me $5. So I'm not doing this for money. I do the things that I do for fun. I do the things that I do so that if I die, there's a whole backlog of videos so people who knew me can listen to my voice and see what I was wasting my time on. Instead of, like, getting a real job or something. I don't know. But the point is that if you do things that you hate or you don't find fun, your life is going to be miserable. And this applies to real life as well. If you're stuck working fast food or retail, just find a reason to snap and just break the chain. Just break the suppression. Get the hell out. If you want to become a YouTuber, I can help you out. Join my Discord. I don't know what to say here. The video is basically over. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment. Click the video on the right side of your screen. And if you have a household pet, they will minorly inconvenience or annoy you in the next 2 days.